gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week. That's right, week. We can say it. Well, 10 days. Thereabouts. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me, as always, first of all, we have Monsieur de Eduardo. How are you, old boy?
Hi, your lordship, sir. It's wonderful to be back in your presence so soon.
Of course. I expect nothing less. And second of all, we have Mr. Marriott. He's back. We've not scared him off yet. How are you, old boy?
I'm very well, thank you.
Now, we are a member down. Mr. Yoda Fudge is stuck fudging. I assume that's the term. So we've got a special guest. And gentlemen, we have to be on our very, very best behaviour. Edward, I'm looking at you. We shall have no mention of Quims this week. Thank you very much. We shall watch our P's and Q's because we've got a very special guest indeed. It's Ms. Victoria Wood. Victoria, how are you, my dear?
Good evening, my lord. Thanks for letting me out of the kitchen.
Absolute pleasure. It's nice to have the sausage fest broken. That sounded far different.
Sounded better in your head, didn't it, that one, your lordship?
Certainly did. But no, it's a pleasure to have you on, my dear. So, chaps, let's crack on. We've got... I can't say chaps, can I?
You can say chaps. Don't get yourself confused. It's going to be a long night.
It's easily done. Chaps and chapette. Let's crack on. So, everything has been going terribly well at Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. But there was a little bump in the road, which I think we need to discuss first.
Right, I'm going to get in straight away here because I don't want to steal the limelight on this one, but there is only one main issue at the moment, which has been dragging on for, well, a good week or so now. It's been all over social media, all over the internet. It's all anyone was talking about at Owls in the Park on Sunday. And I've got to say now, I don't know what all the fuss is about because I quite like the new goalkeeper's jersey. I think purple's a nice colour. I don't get the fuss. I don't at all.
Yeah, well, we spoke last week about how we seem to be harking back to the 90s with actually signing people and being excited for a season, and certainly the keeper shirt is a hark back to that. But yes, there was that little bit of a bump, and people didn't seem terribly pleased.
It almost feels like we could have recorded a podcast pretty much every day for the last week.
Absolutely.
Because the situation's changed so much, hasn't it? From where we were when the ticket prices first came out to where we are now. And I've kind of been scribbling down a few notes over the last week thinking, I'll mention that in the podcast. That's quite interesting. Oh, that's a good thought. And then something else happens and it all changes. And I kind of feel like I almost want to say that it's been quite an interesting debate, but that doesn't feel like the right way to describe it because sort of whether Jeremy Hellan is good enough to be first choice left back is an interesting debate, or whether McGugan should be first name on the team sheet is an interesting debate. This is actual money. This is people's money out of their pockets. And whether we like it or not, the sad fact is that some fans are going to be priced out of Hillsborough this season. It sort of feels like from where we were a week ago when the ticket prices were first announced, that along the way there's been different things announced that have slightly changed that. To the point where almost today with the season ticket third phase coming out, the price has been announced today. It's a little bit like the Stockholm syndrome, because there's been a lot of people today on Twitter saying, oh, they're not as bad as I thought they were going to be. And they're still. I sit in the North Stand, and I'd class myself as quite fortunate. I renewed early bird prices at 480, and today the price is 690, which is £210 more. And there's people going, "Oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be." And I think that's kind of how we've been set up over the last week. That initially they went in with the kill, which was the stupidly high prices, where we all thought, "Wow, that's just ridiculous." And I really did look at it and think, we're seriously talking about £52 to sit in the South Stand at Hillsborough. Since then, obviously, you realise the membership part of it, then the family tickets that come as part of it. Then there was the rather strange 2:00 in the morning statement from Chancery on the on the website, which you wonder whether or not he actually did that himself after a couple of bottles of red wine or something and just logged in from home. Where he said, I want to do everything that I can to bring those prices down. I think the thing that's probably bothered me the most about it is the way that it feels like we've had kind of two factions of supporters here. And it's sort of split us a little bit, that we've almost had fans turning on each other, that there's been people saying, well, if you can't afford it, then don't pay it. Don't moan about it. Just don't come. It's like, that's not what football's about. And we make a big deal about this. we're all Wednesday, aren't we, saying? And it sort of felt like we've lost that a little bit in the last week. The way that as fans we've turned on each other a little bit, and we've sort of alienated ourselves from other sets of supporters who can't afford to come to games. And I've not liked that. I found that quite sad.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with James on that. If I'm honest, I think there's something to be said about the fact that a club wants to promote the loyalty aspect of the fans renewing their season tickets at the first opportunity and getting the best prices. But no one can argue that this hasn't been a massive PR own goal for the club, because they had the chance to reach out to the fans and build on the kind of positivity that we've had since the end of the season, with the new signings, with the pitch, with the scoreboard, etc. And I think the way they've done it has actually been backwards, in that they've given all of the bad news first and then waited for the storm to hit and then started thinking, well, how can we make this sound better? So
I think that, to be fair, that's what anyone does in like a business though. I renewed on the day that it came out. I've had my season ticket 27 years this year, and I've always had the same seat. And the thing that worries me more is losing my seat that I've had all this time. So the minute it came out, I renewed it and whatever else. But then when I saw the third stage tickets today, I thought, I can't afford that next season. If that's going to be the first stage next season, how is that going to work? Once you pay for your drink, you pay for your programme, you pay for your burger and whatever else, you're talking £1,000. And the average wage in Sheffield's about 20. So it's a lot of money. But actually, next season worries me more than now.
It's an insane amount of money, isn't it, that we're actually dealing with here to go and watch football, and we're really talking about going to watch football effectively down the road from where we live. We're talking about going to home matches. I'll say it again. I'm relatively fortunate, which is that I'm in a position where I have a reasonable wage. I don't have any children. I don't have any dependents, and I choose to spend quite a lot of the money that I earn on going to watch Wednesday up and down the country. I can afford to do that, but I appreciate there's a lot of people that can't afford to do that. But they still go to the home matches. They get the season ticket every season, and now we're at a position where we might be quite close to pricing them out of being able to go. And one of the things that I wanted to say, which was that I appreciate it was a little bit late, but Mr. Chansiri made his statement 48 hours after the ticket prices came out, a lot of which I thought made a lot of sense. But there was a sentence in it that I really took issue with, which was where he said that the absolute last intention was to price fans out of Hillsborough, and that's that's fair enough as a statement. But it made me think about 2 weeks ago at work. I was coming out of the toilet and walking into the office, and as I opened the door, I pushed the door into someone's face who was coming the other direction. I had.
Is this just a confession?
This is going somewhere. Trust me. I had absolutely no intention of whacking the door in their face, but I still did it. And the fact that I did it, I had to apologise and I had to make sure they were all right. And then my choice was I either walk off or I try and put the situation right. So I said to them, look, are you okay? If you need to go to A&E, I'll take you to A&E. And it turned out they were all right. So saying that you don't intend to do something is well and good. But the fact is, if you do it, then you either have to stand by the fact that you've done it or you have to put it right. So it'll be really interesting to see how things pan out now in terms of ticket prices over the next 12 months and where we are in 12 months with those kind of first phase ticket prices.
The thing that makes me the most sad about it is, like, as I'm sat here now talking to you guys, I can literally see the North Stand from my window. And the thought that I might not be able to afford to go there next season is horrible. And I don't have kids. I've got a good job. I've got a good wage. I've got a nice house. I've got no children, thank God. But I can't afford to go there next season if we're looking at £700. It's not physically possible. So if they could do something that's some sort of loyalty bonus, or, that can keep us all involved next year for those this year that have forked out that extra £100 or whatever, then maybe that's something that we could look to. But at the moment, it is scary, and I feel how those other fans are feeling at the moment that can't afford it, because next season I'll be in that boat.
Let's imagine that ticket prices this year hadn't been as high as they've turned out to be. If we were promoted next season and we were in the Premier League and ticket prices went up to 700, would you expect that, first of all, and would you be happy to pay that, second of all?
I'd expect it more at the point we got promoted. Ironically, we arguably need it less once we've been promoted.
Absolutely.
So, you know, people have been throwing the example of Manchester United around. So on the first game of the season, we're being asked to put £39 into the coffers of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club to go and watch Sheffield Wednesday against Bristol City in the second tier of English football. The same day, you'll be able to watch Manchester United against Spurs, and apparently it's £31 for that. Now, I think people have pretty much debunked the idea that anyone's going to be able to rock up at Old Trafford, pay £31, get in and watch Man United because tickets are so scarce and blah, blah, blah. But the point still stands. Man United don't have the requirement to pick up revenue through their ticket prices because, you know, they can afford to sign £18 million sponsorship deals with Aeroflot. You know, this is not a major part of their revenue generation. For us, it is. And so we have to get it right. So this season will be a real litmus test because either they've set the prices absolutely right for the project that they're going for, and success will bring that full Hillsborough. And even though prices have increased, we're going to increase our revenue commensurately. Or things won't go so well, and Mr. Chansiri will find out very quickly that South Yorkshire is not an area where you can try and squeeze every last penny out of the fans, especially if you're not giving them a product on the pitch that is going to be compelling for them.
Yeah, it's a hell of a gamble, isn't it? It's a huge gamble. Just a similar example to what you were talking about there with Manchester United. Something that I found really interesting a few weeks ago, and actually I meant to mention this in the podcast last week because it really caught my eye, which is what Swansea have done with their away tickets, where they're subsidising the price of away tickets for their fans. So the fans only pay £22 maximum, and the rest of the cost of the away ticket is covered by the club, which you think about, I think that's brilliant. That's absolutely fantastic. But someone did the sums and worked out that that's likely to only cost the club over the season £300,000. For a club in the Premier League, 300 grand it's small change. It's absolutely nothing. For a club like us where we are, those kind of figures are actually quite significant, particularly with financial fair play and where we're at. So you're right that where we are now, ticket prices are actually a much, much bigger deal than they would be if we were in the Premier League.
The thing that encourages me is that it seems, certainly since the weekend, the message is coming clear from Hillsborough that Mr. Chansiri and the team there are listening. You know, they might not get the answers right every single time, but it's clear that we do have a voice. They monitor Owl's Talk, they monitor the forums, they monitor the social media. They understand the groundswell of opinion here. So, you know, I'm hoping that the combination of the hard data, which is going to be what our average attendance is this season, and the way that the fans react to these sort of things, it's going to finesse their approach a little bit. I think they've made some mistakes, but it's early days yet, and I think there's easily a way to recover this.
I will say that I don't for a second feel like we've got a renegade chairman here that's trying to rip us off.
Yeah,
you look at the guy at Leeds, and you look at other people that have been involved in football, and you know, I genuinely feel like we've got a nice guy here who's trying to do it the right way, who's not trying to rip off fans. He's trying to achieve something. I genuinely believe that he wants to take us to the Premier League. He seems like a very likeable guy. I've seen him pop up at Alfreton and at York, and you think there's not many chairmen that come along to a football club, buy them, and then go and stand with all the fans at Alfreton and things like that. So, you know, just to kind of make that clear that this is not a kind of, you know, the end is nigh, we've been taken over by a ruthless businessman or anything like that. I do think we've got the right owner. Just as you said, really, it just needs that little bit of tweaking.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And thank you very much for joining us, ladies and gents. That's the Wednesday week 4 this week.
This stuff is important, your lordship. We don't
money,
all have the endless financial reserves that you do, sir.
I beg your pardon. I've got kids coming out my ears, old boy. I've got one sat on my feet right now. There's one swinging from a lampshade. My word. One just popped up outside the door. Well, what can I say?
James!
There are other ways to look at this. If we look at it for this year as a price per goal, last season, 16 goals scored at home. Nobody scored less goals than Wednesday's at home last season.
Let's not mention that.
I'm sure it's going to work out much, much cheaper than last season. That was a little sort of thing popped on Owl's Talk by Never Need. I apologise for my terrible pronunciation. There has been other comments on there as well. Of course, a lot of people very, very angry about this, which fair enough. I
Yep.
absolutely understand that. A lot of people saying maybe it would appease the fans if they'd have a really big, huge investment in a proven top flight centre forward on a permanent deal, not a loan deal or anything like that. A permanent, big striker coming in. That's from Lord Snooty. Apparently, there's another Lord out there. Again, over there on on Owlstock. So, is that the kind of thing that's going to? Do we need appeasing? Do we need value for money in the price per goal, or do we just need to get the place full?
It will be much easier for the management of Sheffield Wednesday FC to come out and justify the price increases if we have a proven transfer of the order of multi. If we break our transfer record as Sheffield Wednesday Football Club this summer, I think many fans will say, you know what, those price increases are justified because it's clear what's going on here.
Go on then, I'll
totally
get
agree
my
with that.
boots on. Don't you worry. Right, so I think we'll leave that behind us and let's have a little chat about the York match, ladies and gents. I believe Eddie and James, you both attended on the day, and from what I've seen, a good time was had by all.
I remember this one. This is great. Alfreton last week, remember very little about it. York, I remember all of the match, although I'd probably quite like to forget the first half. But I remember all of it. Football-wise, first half was pretty poor. There wasn't a great deal to kind of write home about there. I thought second half was a lot better, particularly when I watched back the highlights the day after and thought, actually, second half, we threw together some decent football. It still feels like a team that's not gelled. It feels like the kind of game that you expect to be a pre-season match, if that makes sense. It feels like players getting to know each other. It feels like a team that's released half its first team squad and recruited another half of the first team squad over the summer. I thought it was a really good day out, and it always is at York. And I hope there's 2 seasons in a row now we've had a pre-season match at York, and I hope this actually becomes a thing, because a day out in York is just brilliant. It's fantastic. I had a fantastic time, and although I missed it, watching the video back afterwards of the chairman trying to drive his car down the street of York with all the Wednesday fans, and then deciding, do you know what, forget this, I'll just get out. I got out of his car, and everyone was singing at him. He signed all the autographs, had all the pictures taken. It was brilliant. What a lovely moment that was, and so great that someone captured it on camera.
We do have an eyewitness to that very event, James. There has been photographic evidence of our very own white, bespectacled Edward roaming down the street in his beautiful white shirt, beautiful white sunglasses. And Eddie, tell us all about it, old boy.
Yeah, so from where I am in the wilds of North Yorkshire, York is actually my local team. So it is imperative for me to take the family Hoyland and go and visit Bootham Crescent, because those of you that follow a bit of local football will know that York are moving to a brand spanking new stadium soon. And we've had some times at the old Bootham Crescent, but certainly as a youngster, it was where I used to see an awful lot of football. So it was the time for me to take my kids there and kind of enjoy a pre-season day out. And you know what? I think, as James said, the game, I don't think you can draw too many conclusions. I absolutely agree. The second half was a sea change from the first half. But I didn't really care too much about what was happening on the pitch, because as it happened, because we didn't get tickets in the away end, we ended up buying tickets, walking straight through the turnstiles in the main stand. So we ended up at the players' tunnel, right behind the dugout. And so I kind of got firsthand a bit of a feel for how the squad is gelling. What seems to be the messages that are being put out there to the team about how they approach their pre-season, how they approach these games, etc. And one of the things that I absolutely loved was 10 minutes before kickoff, Carlos Carvalhal, Caravan of Love, was still sat in the dugout, and he had Lewis McGugan to the left of him, and he had Kieran Lee to the right, and he was stuck in the middle with them. And they were, for 10 minutes, no word of a lie, there was nothing else around them that they looked at. They were there in deep conversation. It might have been about, what the latest thing that happened made in Chelsea, but I suspect it was probably actually swapping anecdotes or ideas about how they like to play the game of football. I actually didn't think that Lewis McGugan was going to get onto the pitch on Saturday. It looked like he was there just to kind of watch what was going on. But both of those guys came onto the pitch in the second half and made a material difference to the quality of the performance. And I think that those sort of moments, that sort of bonding experience, which is going on right now in Portugal, believe you me, is going to serve us really well for the season. But back to the matter at hand, because actually I think what we'll remember that York game for in future will not be what happened on the pitch. It won't be Lewis McGugan's goal. It won't be anything that happened in the dugout, etc. I think that York game will be the moment that Dejphon Chansiri remembered or realised for the first time, the same way that Milan Mandaric did a few years back, what sort of club he was the custodian of and why it should mean so much to him. Because not only was he brilliant talking to Wednesday fans in and around that main stand, he was very accessible. People were going up and chatting to him. He was talking quite candidly to fans about what was going on, answering their questions. But when we were walking back down Bootham towards the train station, and there was this unbelievable scene where 100, 200 Wednesday fans surrounded him, spotted him in his car, surrounded him, started chanting, and he got out and basically had a selfie, shook hands, and bowed in some instances to the fans. I think he finally understood what it was to be a football club chairman, but also to be the owner of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. Because let's remember, this is a guy who spent his entire life very successfully, but he spent his entire life in a boardroom with other guys in suits, negotiating contracts, talking about tuna. It's all very interesting, I'm sure. However, do you think he's ever been treated like a rock star like he was on Saturday? He must have been sat there thinking, we've just had a 1-1 draw with a team that finished in the bottom half of League Two in a pre-season friendly. And I can walk out of this ground and be treated like Elvis Presley has turned up. This is ridiculous. Can you target reference, kid? It's just like when Little Mix turn up, yeah? Can you imagine what he must think it's going to be like when we actually win something? He's got to feel like there's going to be women just throwing themselves at him naked. There's going to be men weeping openly. It was the most ridiculous, ludicrous, brilliant, hilarious scene that I think I've been involved in as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. But you know what? I actually think that moment in itself transferred Dejphon Chansiri from a businessman who bought a football club as a business investment to a guy who understood what it was to be a hero to thousands of people. And you know what? I think that's actually going to play out over the rest of the season and the rest of his time at Sheffield Wednesday. And it's going to be to our benefit because he will be one of us now in a way that he wasn't before Saturday.
Yeah, that's so true. Between that and Owls in the Park on Sunday, I think those two things seem to have... It seems like it's made a difference to him, doesn't it? He seemed different in, the stories that people were bringing back from Owls in the Park on Sunday about how nice he was, how chatty he was with everyone, how much he really seemed to enjoy it. It does seem like there's a difference from a few weeks ago where he was a chairman, he was a businessman, he was the owner, he was trying to find his feet. He seems like he's loving it now. He really is. He's got into it, and in the same way that at some point or other we all did, we all started going to matches, but at some point we fell in love with this football club. That's now happened to him.
Absolutely. So essentially, crap game, decent aftermath.
I think you've summed it up pretty well, yeah.
You see, what you guys can say in an hour, I can say in seconds. As we've been sort of just started speaking about there, let's go straight on to Owls in the Park. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but looking at the photographs and the SWFC hashtag, it looked like an incredible day. Families all over the place. A security guard that looked incredibly like Matthew Kelly. And it just seems like a good time was had by all. Again, playing devil's advocate, if you like, there was sort of a reported spend by the club of around about 15 grand, where people are saying, well, that could have been spent on tickets and one thing and another. But 15,000 people showed up. Everybody loved it. Victoria, what do you think of the whole thing?
Well, I had a fantastic day. As many people know, I work for a charity in Sheffield. I work for Cavendish Cancer Care, and we had a stand with the Sheffield Wednesday Community Partnership that have been amazing with us over the last year. Can't rate them enough. They're absolutely fantastic. And we had a bubble football zorbing game and a bit of a collection and stuff. And we raised, between us, probably about £450, which
That's
actually
fantastic.
compared to most charities on the day, that was probably the highest. We split it with the community partnership because a lot of people don't understand that they are actually a charity. They're not funded. They're a charity. They get to use the club's logo and whatever, but they are a charity. So we work with them a lot. They've been, like I said, just outstanding over the last year. But I had a fantastic day. I had a bit of time to wander around myself. Went over to support dogs who I personally give money to. Had a look at all their stuff and saw what they were doing. They're amazing as well. But just to see the queues of people queuing up to meet the players that, take your kids out on a Saturday night on West Street and you'll meet them all for free. But
Well, that's one way to look at it, I suppose.
I queued for 10 minutes to get in and buy 2 shirts. So 10 minutes and the club made £100 off me. So I'm pretty sure that they made more than enough back that day to cover that £15,000. And actually, do you know what? It doesn't matter. We're a big enough club that we can afford to lose 15 grand for God's sake and have a good day out for the people of Hillsborough and the people of Sheffield that want to go and just have a nice day in the sun, bit of a drink, few bands, loads of different stalls to enjoy. And it's just something that has just grown from strength to strength. I remember when I worked at Wednesday about 6 years ago, it was in talks and the plans were going ahead and whatever else. And then suddenly it all came about a few years later and it's just been phenomenal. And it just shows you what this club's all about. It's about families going to the park, having a few drinks, having a burger, playing on some charity games and just having a laugh. And that's what the club's all about. It really brings us back to being a family club again.
Let's get this straight. What it's actually about is Ati Nuiu singing the Samido song.
That is true.
Pretty much. Anything
Last
else is
year,
irrelevant
I did
now.
abuse him. I did go over and I didn't queue because I was busy last year. I was working again for a different charity. But I did last year. I managed to get hold of him, and my partner had to pull me off him because I wouldn't let go. So I've got many a photo with Ate Nuku singing to him and all sorts. He wasn't impressed, but I didn't do it this year, so I think he got out that one scot-free. So
That's
at
why
least I was working.
Warning posters were up.
Well done.
I know, yeah. Don't let this bird near the stand. She'll grab at it again.
So, again, a fantastic day was had by all. And as you quite rightly said, that's, again, after the ticket fiasco, shall we say, it seems to have brought a lot of fans back on board again. We've seen stories online about Mr. Chansiri basically donating money so a lady can do a skydive and just paying the whole thing off rather than having to fundraise and that sort of thing on there as well. So it looks as though, from the standpoint at the moment, that Mr. Chansiri's sort of popularity, well, I'll put my teeth back in, shall I? Popularity meter is right back up again.
He's seen the very, very worst and the very, very best of the reaction to what he can do as a chairman. So he's seen the way that Sheffield Wednesday fans can be very, very negative and cynical and bitter and think the worst of people. And then within the same week, he's actually seen the unbelievable adulation and passion and desire and the community spirit that we have as Wednesday fans. So I'm really hoping that it's leveled him a little bit, and now he understands a little bit more about the club that he's bought into. And for me, I think it can only bring dividends as we move into the season, but also as he starts planning more long term for the future of the sort of things that he wants to achieve. Because it's been very easy for him to say, you know what we need? We need a big screen and we need a new pitch and a lovely blue athletics track around it. That's the sort of stuff that you don't need to engage with the club, on an emotional level to understand. The sort of stuff that he's learnt this week, I think, will serve him and will serve us in great stead going forward.
I think as well, there was a lady on Owl's Talk who'd lost a purse. Yeah. And the fact that it was handed in with, I think it was Maxine. Sorry if I'm wrong about that. She lost a purse. Yeah, she lost a purse and it was handed in on the day with all of her cards, all of her cash, everything in it. And she'd been so worried, like anyone is. I mean, I had my purse stolen a few weeks ago, and you're absolutely petrified. You've got your whole life in there. I know this is woman speak, but that was handed back within minutes. Like, she got that back the next day, and that
is
just
really
shows
incredible.
you that someone out there thought, no, hold on a minute, it doesn't matter if you. There were loads of United fans walking around that day. I saw loads of United shirts, and it's not about Wednesday. It's about just being Sheffield, and we're all together, and it doesn't matter. But on that day, it was such a great celebration, and the fact that someone handed that in, whether they were in a blue and white shirt, red and white shirt, pink and white shirt, they handed it in, and she got it back, and that is just testament to this city.
Pink and white shirts, they're like those old Blades Macron ones that have faded in the wash, aren't they? Yeah?
That'd be nice.
So, of course, there has been other movement in the club. Big news this week, signing-wise. Not a huge amount, but very pleased that Mr. McGugan has rejoined. Reported of around about, 300k, thereabouts, which, in my eyes, is an absolute steal.
Before we start with any of this, I've got some real views on Lewis McGugan, but surely Victoria, you want to talk about how good his bum looks in some shorts, or how nice his legs are, or something like that. Let's be honest here.
I think, to be honest, Edward, I think that basically the fact that we paid 300k for someone like McGugan, who has scored more goals and done a lot more for the team than someone who we paid 800k for Stevie May, it's an absolute bargain, and I think he did a lot for the club last year. He's a personality on and off the pitch, and I think you can only wish for more people like that. The people that we've been linked with, such as your Kyle Lafferty's or whatever, I'd rather have McGugan any day. So
belting signing, and you're quite right. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen it as well. Referring to Stevie May, his interview this week with Rob Staten about
Staten.
With Rob from Radio Sheffield. He all followed me. And how he's going to work out. He sounds like he's disappointed, shall we say, in himself for the season he had last season. It didn't quite gel for him. He said himself he missed some sitters, and he really wants to work hard to get that spot back. And looking at the competition he's got for that place at the moment, it's not great, because we are still waiting for what is supposed to be our marquee signing of the season, hopefully one or two of them actually. But do you think it's people like Stevie May, there's been the rumours about him moving and etc., are going to crack on in this team, James?
I would be disappointed if Stevie May left at the moment. I think I accept that he didn't have an amazing season last season, and let's be fair, he was, when we signed him last season, we were all really excited about it because he was the biggest signing that we'd made for a while, probably since Antonio, who we sold in order to buy Stevie May. So it was a big deal for us, and obviously Rotherham wanted him, and he came to us, so it was a big deal for us. It didn't work out the way that we thought it might do. It didn't play out the way we thought it might do. We expected him to be scoring goals left, right and centre, and that didn't happen. I think there were parts of his play last season that gave me hope that this guy he has some talent. He's not a stupid footballer. He's not lazy. He'll work hard. He runs a lot.
Doesn't stop running, does he?
Yeah, he's got a lot of good points to his game. I think, like a lot of people have said over the last couple of weeks, we've got to give him a chance with some decent service. And I think we've brought in players that can give him that kind of service. We've got a really strong midfield now that can back up someone like Stevie May, and hopefully can give him that supply. And if we give him that supply, he might bang in the goals. I don't think he's going to be our first choice striker. I don't think he'd probably be anyone's first choice striker in the Championship, because he's not that kind of player. But depending what system we play this season, he might have a role. It might be from the bench. He might need to wait until someone gets injured or something happens and he gets his chance in the team. But I would like to see him with us this season. I'd like to see him at some point get a run in the team. And I honestly believe that he might have a role to play.
Absolutely, could not agree more. Of course, the other sort of striker / attacking player that's a little bit odd at the moment is Chris Maguire. Of course, he reports that he refused a 1-year contract from the club, which, fair enough, I could sort of understand. But he doesn't seem to have gone anywhere or done anything. As far as I can see, he's still at Sheffield Wednesday. But anybody at all, any thoughts about this? I just don't know what's happening with him.
So the way that I read this is that we look at the players that we've released, right? What happens is they go to Rotherham. Okay, that's how it happened, right?
And get injured.
So yeah, they got to Rotherham and then they immediately get injured. Okay. Now Chris Maguire, he's known for two things. Number one, he's known for winding up Rotherham fans, and number two, he's known for getting injured. So he's basically signing his own death warrant by agreeing to leave Sheffield Wednesday because his only route back into football is to sign for Rotherham, and then immediately he would get beaten up by his own supporters and then get injured. So I can kind of understand he's between a rock and a hard place. But yeah, you know what? I've got a real little bit of a soft spot for Chris Maguire because he hasn't been brilliant for us. There've been times when he's looked like our best player on the pitch, and he's scored some key goals and he's had some key assists. Actually, what I really like about him is those times where he's managed to wind up the opposition fans and players in a way that we haven't seen kind of since Paolo Di Canio. And I like that in a player. I like to have a player like a Robbie Savage, who everybody hates until he's on your team, at which point you absolutely love him. So you know what? I will be more than happy if Chris Maguire doesn't find a move that makes sense for him and he ends up trying to fight for his place at Sheffield Wednesday, because he's proven already that he's been thrown on the scrap heap by a manager at Sheffield Wednesday and he's fought his way back into the team and become a key part of it. I think that we are still a team that needs a Chris Maguire in that squad, to be an effective force. Now, whether that is off the bench, whether that is just winding other players and other fans up, I don't know. But I will be more than happy for him to still have a squad number when Bristol City rolls around this year.
I think if maybe in the future when he retires from football, he would make a brilliant Aussie Owl. Because he's brilliant at winding up opposition fans, and that's all that mascots do. So I think we should absolutely give him a new contract. We should bring him back, keep him here until retirement, and then stick a big owl on him. He's made for life.
Him and Paul Smith, the physio, just give them lifetime contracts to run up and down the sideline, giving rods to the opposition. That'd do me.
I do think, in all fairness to Chris Maguire, I think last season he was one of our best players. And I know that is very, very controversial. My mother hates him. I absolutely hates him. But I genuinely think there was something about him. And not only does he wind fans up, that's fine, Di Canio did that. Look what happened there. But he could put in a cross occasionally and he could score a goal. And am I right in thinking he was our top scorer last season, or was he second top?
I think, behind New Year he was.
Yeah, I still didn't get married. But yeah, he was just behind you, who is a striker. Like, let's be fair, Chris Maguire is a striker. We've been playing him on the wing. He's still got just under the same amount of goals as a striker. He made an impact. He's great as a squad player, rotation player, or whatever. But I would have definitely kept him, and I would welcome him back with open arms.
Of course, we can't have a Maguire discussion, because I know right now Fudge is going to be sat listening to this somewhere in Fudge Land and bursting just to say fat Derby County reserve. So, Fudge, I've done it for you. I'm playing devil's advocate. We all know Fudge's views on Chris Maguire. I assume they've not changed.
If he's fat, I need to be put down.
You're not kidding. Well, Fudge has got a very skewed view of the world. So, of course, there's been the usual rumours flying about. The main one that we were excited by, shall we say, was Bamford. Clearly, that's not happened. He's now gone on loan to Palace.
Well, he did say that he quoted today that he wanted to stay near to London. So, if we'd have had that faster train a bit sooner, would have been all right.
Just not on.
But it's not that bit close enough, and it's at Meadowhall. It's not close enough to Hillsborough, and that's what's let us down there.
Ruddy footballers. Can you imagine? I'd cut my left bits and bobs off to go and play football for any football team anywhere, but no, can't possibly get on a train. Of course, there's been fresh rumours. The normal ones are still doing the rounds. Rhodes, Marshall. Again, Fudge did pop a little tweet out today mentioning that both Rhodes and Marshall are modelling the new Blackburn kits. So essentially, read into that what you like. Does that mean they're staying where they are? Does that mean the deals are off the table. I don't know. You'd imagine so, but again, it's all nonsense. The most recent one is Mr. Nuge, the David Nugent rumours flying. Do we think there's any truth in that kind of thing?
It would fit. I think he's a goal scorer. He's a relatively big name. Is he the kind of signing that's going to get everyone excited? I'm not sure. But he would score goals. I think the issue we're getting to now a little bit is as the month goes on, as to whether or not if we're determined to bring in someone before the start of the season, that it's probably more likely to be someone like Nugent. I don't get excited about someone like Carl Lafferty, but more the character that's unlikely to be playing for the team that he's at, rather than someone like Jordan Rhodes, who would be a first choice player for the team that they're currently at. I think if we want someone like that, we're probably going to have to be prepared for it to go down to the wire towards the end of the transfer window, because their parent club is going to want the highest possible fee for them, and that means, unfortunately, you've got to wait because they're going to play you off against everyone else.
The longer this goes on, the more I think that we are going not to be heading for the Jordan Rhodes type signing. I think the longer this goes, we will not be held to ransom for British transfer fee figures. I suspect that what we'll be looking at is going in and bidding big money for a European striker who has been playing in the top division of his respective league and has been knocking goals in fun. We had Sergio Bush last year, who I wouldn't say was playing in a top league. He was playing in effectively a championship level league and was scoring goals. And I think that he's very much part of our plans this year. I would expect if the price to pay for a Jordan Rhodes or a Gary Hooper is going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million pounds, I suspect that what we'll do is instead look back to Portugal or France or Serbia or the Czech Republic or somewhere like this, Poland, that has a decent standard of football, and we'll look to get the cream from that sort of area.
I'd welcome David Nugent tomorrow. I think he'd be a great signing for us. But I think today I read that Fernando Forestieri is linked with us, who plays at Watford. He's averaging 1 in 3. Italy under 21s. I think, he seems like a good player, and he's a young lad that we can probably build on for the next 3 or 4 years.
He's a very good player.
Yeah, wow, he did score. He did score a brace against us.
He certainly did
last season. So probably be rubbish for us.
A bounder.
Yeah, it's bound to happen. But he seems like the kind of player that if we can get at a decent price as a young lad, and maybe even a payment after he's completed so many games or something, like your Gary Medine style. But I do think 1 in 3 in the Championship's a pretty good. At 25, Absolutely. It's a pretty good record, and apparently he's amazing on Championship Manager. So,
in that case, sign
it. We had this last week.
Well, Freddie Adu again. That's
apparently the way forward. So,
I'm presuming the Gary Medine deal is you get extra payment after you've punched a horse. Is that not correct?
Well, that was one of the things I was going to say about Kyle Lafferty, to be honest. He's like the most linked at the moment. And it's kind of like, you look at him and he's got like 1 in 4 and he's done all right. He's a bit of a journeyman and he's done his time and literally. But he is most known. He's most known in the press as for things off the pitch. And is that what we need again? Is that what we need? Do we need someone who's going to go out there and sleep with half of Sheffield or sleep with half of wherever, Norwich? Or do we need someone who's going to come in as a young lad, desperate to do it, like your Stevie May, and actually prove himself? And like Newhugh, to be fair, I think Newhugh's younger than me. And he's desperate. He's absolutely desperate to prove himself. And I think we need to get players like that who are desperate to get to the Premier League, and not players who are a bit of a journeyman and they see us as a stop-off.
There's also a question here around the tactics that we're going to play. What we don't need is a secondary striker who's going to feed off somebody else. It looks like we are building a team that is going to play with a central striker and 2 wide attacking players. So actually what we need is a player, I think like David Nugent is actually a pretty decent shout because he is a goal getter. we actually need a bit of a shitliner here, let's be honest. We need somebody who is going to be in and about it. I actually think Atty is going to have the best season of his career if he gets the same run in the team that he did last time with the sort of tactics we're going to play.
Completely agree.
So, I don't necessarily think it is about how much money we pay or how many goals, a guy has scored. I actually think that it is about, as we said before, recruitment based on the right players to fit in the system that we've got. And you know what? If Kyle Lafferty is the answer, I think we're asking the wrong questions. I would much sooner see a player who we can stand up and say, you know what, he is the right player to be that real classic number 9 who sits there in the middle and just feeds off everyone else's hard work.
I think because we're talking about Owls in the Park as well, and we're talking about being a family club. And do we want someone like New Hugh that, there was a picture of him in Victoria's Secret, that's what we all get up to. But
ding dong.
But, Kyle Lafferty, when you look him up, all that comes up on the internet is stuff about him being sacked from Palermo for being a womanizer.
He's a dirtball.
Control. And it's controversial. I wasn't going to say that. But there are things that we don't need off the pitch at the moment. We've got enough with the ticket prices and with attendances and whatever else that we need to focus on the pitch, and we need someone who's going to go out there every week. I'm not saying 1-in-1. That's ridiculous. We haven't got that sort of money. But if we can get someone who's going to get like double figures a season, or 2 of them that are going to get double figures a season, we'll be fine. But until we actually get that player, and I do agree with Eddie for the first time in 10 years.
My word.
I know. Can you imagine?
Have we got a fanfare sound effect? Something like that we can play now.
But I do think Hugh would have his best season ever with us this year if he gets the chance and the service. I think he'll do it.
I've not heard the Forestieri rumours, and I don't know why this, but I have quite a lot of friends that are Watford fans who say he is a seriously top quality footballer. So if that does happen, I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
It's in the papers today, so get with it.
I think that would be. I've had my head in the sand today. I've been doing a Nigel Pearson.
Oh no, you didn't.
But yeah, in terms of the system itself, so I saw a brilliant tweet the other day from a guy called James on Twitter, and I can't remember.
So that was you. You just talked about your own tweets here, mate.
There's more than one James in the world, you know that?
Oh.
It was talking about this guy Pinto that we've been linked with, and we're saying we should definitely sign him for his hair. And this got me thinking that we should now only sign players purely on the quality of their hair. And that would make a system. We need a system. We like systems. So we only sign players if they have good hair. Now, we kind of touched on this last week with Bamford, saying that he's got quite nice hair, but it wasn't quite nice enough. So we gave up that. We let him go to Palace.
That's the reason.
Yeah. Jordan Rhodes has got acceptable hair, so we might have a look there. Daryl Murphy had terrible hair, so we're not going to do that. McGugan, great hair, so we signed. Hair. Yeah. It does make me think, though, Big Dave could be the final nail in his coffin because he's not got particularly good hair.
He's got flat hair.
Whoa.
What are you talking about?
He has amazing hair.
He needs to get himself a new hairdresser pretty sharpish, I think.
Oh,
both on his head and all over his body, he has got wonderful hair.
Oh, calm down,
he is
boy.
Sheffield Wednesday's Zlatan Ibrahimovic. What more do you want?
You've got to admit, when he's doing the old finger point after scoring a goal, he's cooler than the Fonz. Surely.
Target reference there.
I apologise. Cooler than
Cunningham.
I am so down with the kids.
I'm under 30. I don't know what that means.
So, yeah, of course, we've got rumours flying here, there, and indeed everywhere. We've got a bit of money. We've been linked with everybody. So it is a case of watch this space. I do try not to get myself excited about the in-the-know accounts as they become to be known, but I'm a rather excitable chap. What can I say? Right, so it's holiday season. We had a bit of a query on Twitter from Murray1867. Holiday dilemma. Do you introduce yourself to a fellow owl with Wawa or not?
I think if it's Wawa, that just sounds weird. Right? So I would counsel any Wednesday fan listening to this, never ever use the abbreviation Wawa, because that sounds very, very odd. But yeah, I think we're all Wednesday, aren't we? From a safe distance, I think is all right. But actually, really interesting that this has popped up tonight, because earlier this evening I got a Facebook message from my sister-in-law, who is considerably younger than me. So I'm 24, so she's kind of like 21. And she's away in Budapest. She's doing a bit of travelling and stuff like that. So she's in Budapest. She went to the zoo today, and she spotted a guy wearing a Wednesday shirt. And so she bowled over to him. She had a couple of glasses of red wine. However, she bowled over to him, and I think he looked quite pleased with himself, because she's quite an attractive lady. And he thought, I could be in with a bit of holiday romance here. And she opened up with, "Oi, mate, can I take a picture of your shirt, please?" And he looked quite crestfallen, but she got the picture of the shirt and sent it over to me to prove that Wednesday are a massive global brand.
Now, I think there's a direct correlation between how much you've drunk while on holiday and the likelihood that you will shout, "We're all Wednesday, aren't we?" to someone. Because I think the less you've drunk on holiday, you're probably more likely to shout it. And then the more you've drunk on holiday, the more likely you are just to go, "Wah wah." But that's not deliberately. That's you're trying to say the words, it just won't come out.
Yeah, I had a situation in Mallorca earlier this year where there were three guys. It was the middle of the day. I wasn't drunk. And there were three guys walking towards us, all in Wednesday shirts. So I made a point of leaving my partner at the side of the road and going over and going, "We're all Wednesday, aren't we?" And they all just looked at me like I'd just come out of the gutter and just walked off. So if you're listening now, that was very, very, very rude in Calamilor this year. You should just say, "Yeah, we are, pal," and high
Just
five.
not on.
No.
Just not on.
But it does make you look like a bit of a Burke. But I did have a situation in, Tenerife about 10, 11 years ago, where I happened to shout at someone off a balcony who was wearing a Wednesday shirt, and it turned out I was their background on their mobile phones.
Rather odd.
That was awkward.
I'm sure there's not many people can use that sentence at all, Victoria.
Apart from you, sir.
Of course.
Look at this on the flip side, which is if you were on holiday in your Wednesday shirt and someone says, "We're all Wednesday, aren't we?" to you, there's only two. I've only found two ways of responding to that. One, which is a bit silly, when you go, that we are," which sounds a bit stupid. And the other is, the only other way to respond to it is just go, "Wee." That's it. How do you respond to that when someone says it to you? For that reason, I'm saying
You say,
no, you
"Way."
No, you say "ole ole." Surely,
Yeah. You just
then
burst
start
into
up the song.
Savido. Yeah.
Now, the other thing, we had a bit of a query from Mr. Andy Parsons, that's A-Pars over there on Twitter, at A-Pars, should I say. The M word.
Nadine.
Well, no, we've done away with that one. The new gaffer is using it at every opportunity. Is it finally? I mean, I'm a big fan. I always have been. Love it. However, even I'm getting a bit cringy with this now. Is it time we sort of knock this nail on the head? Has the PR department done what I did for the funds and just made it look cool?
Wait, I spoke to someone on the inside at the club the other week and said, who told him to say massive within his first sentence? And they said they have never, ever told anybody to say massive. It's all from his own research.
Bull nugget.
So 100% it's him himself that's Googled it and seen that we all say it, and so he's got involved.
See, I don't know whether he's trying to be cool or whether he's just trying to be really rude, because all I've heard him say so far is refer to our massive fans. I think he's just calling us all fat.
It's Tango, isn't it? He's Googled Sheffield Wednesday fans, and first image is Tango, and second image is Tango.
Tango watch. We're
third image is Roy Hattersley. So
I don't think anyone says it genuinely believing it, and if they do, they need to give themselves a bit of a slap. It's just a bit of fun, isn't it? I don't think it's to be taken seriously. I haven't got a problem with it at all.
That's it. We've sorted that issue then. So, Andy Pars, it carries on, whether you like it or not.
I have one big thing.
Fire away.
The new scoreboard. Hello?
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, my God. That is the fittest thing I've seen at Hillsborough since Wim Jonk. Or Emerson Tom, whichever you want to throw out there. But, beautiful.
It is brilliant, isn't it?
It's not the size of it, it's the girth. It's so
It's all about the girth,
beautifully proportioned, and the fact that they've even started putting pictures on it. You know, there was someone had put a shot of them, and they were putting Sky Sports on it. You know, it's a proper screen. And okay, you know, when the season starts, you know what they're going to do? They're still going to put adverts of Darbar. They're still going to get the wrong scores on there.
They should.
Absolutely, because that's our heritage and that's what we like. But you know what? It is going to be fantastic having that. It is huge. It's massive. It's massive.
If it's half as bad as last season, if they put something like the Craft Channel on or whatever for us women, I'll be more than happy during half time.
The QBC at half time.
I'm quite impressed the fact they managed to position it in such a way that no away fans whatsoever will be able to see it. I did a little bit of digging earlier on because I wanted to try and get a bit of a Wednesday week exclusive as to whether or not we were still going to get the shh before the latest scores, but I didn't manage to get any kind of confirmation on that. I was told I've got to wait and see.
I will give a massive shout out to Richard now.
Come on, Richard.
Come on, Rich. Do it, Rich.
Because
come on, Richard.
He's a man who understands the heart of the Wednesday fan. And
man of the people.
Personally, I will be disappointed in him on a personal level if we don't get a shush tea.
And if not, myself and a young lady on Twitter again. Yes, I can explain the offside rule. Wonderful lady, please do follow and look. We have already organised a sit outside Hillsborough and stamp our feet process until it gets done. So that's it. It's going to happen.
Can we do that in bare feet or?
Shoes off in the car park afterwards.
Last week we talked about daft things we've seen over the summer in football, and I saw something this week that just made me howl, which was one of the names that we've not talked about tonight, who we have been linked with in the last week, is Adam Le Fondre. Now he was on loan at Bolton for a few months last season, and they obviously, some of their fans want him to become a Bolton player full time. Now, they don't have any money left at Bolton, so some fans got together and they set up one of these things on the internet that you can do to raise the money needed.
Like a Kickstarter.
Like a Kickstarter. So first of all, they've estimated that his value is £250,000.
Right.
They're 6 days into it, and the total currently stands at, are you ready for this? £725 they're at the moment. And what they have said,
come on, Depjan, you can do this.
This is why I think most people haven't donated, because you would think, well, maybe if they don't raise the full amount, you get your money back. But they've said if money raised is not the desired amount, it will be given to charity. So you kind of think, well, you probably think I'm going to hang on to that. I'll give it to the charity that I want to give it to,
like Cavendish Cancer Care,
rather than pumping into it. Well,
yes, big up Cavendish.
Well done.
Thank you.
So I've just put on the internet actually off the back of that story. So the Adam Le Fondre Kickstarter has raised £725. The Chris O'Grady Kickstarter has raised £726. So Chris O'Grady, he's better than Adam Le Fondre. That is the conclusion we have to have.
Can I just mention one last thing before we go?
Fire away.
That I know means a lot to Eddie and to myself. Don't know about you guys, but there's a charity football match this Sunday at Hillsborough College, all in memory of a guy called Julian Batty, who's a really, really massive, he'd love me to say that, massive Wednesday fan, raised a lot of money for charity, and there is a match in his honour this Sunday. His missus is a huge United fan, just like absolutely huge United fan. He was a huge Wednesday fan. So we're having two sets of fans play against each other, we're having a raffle and all sorts going off in the New Barrack Tavern afterwards. So please, please, please come along. It kicks off at 12 o'clock. And it's all in memory of a very, very good friend. So
brilliant.
Yeah, can't echo that more. For those of you that are listening, Boz, you hear about us from Owls Talk and that sort of stuff. Batty Gol, because that was his name on Owls Talk. He was a regular contributor. I think 2006 was the first time I met him in person. He was a great friend to us all. He was part of the gang. He's part of the reason why I think we've got a real strong Wednesday community on the internet and off it as well. He's sorely missed, and it is a brilliant initiative to help his name live on and to bring fans of Wednesday United together in something like this. It's going to be an absolutely cracking day. So please get on down there, look it up, and and donate if you can, because it's a real great cause.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to Steve Hobson as well for organising it all. Yeah, old Parkway. He's organised it all. And when I went to his funeral earlier this year, there were hundreds of people packed into that room, and every single one of them had a memory of him. And I've got many memories of him disappearing on nights out. No one knows where he is.
Most of those memories we can't actually tell. It's a family podcast, so.
But do you know what? Talking to people in the queue outside of the funeral, everyone had the same memory of him going away at the end of the night. So please come down. It'll be a really great day. I'll be there, and it'll be great to meet people.
Absolutely. Good. If people do want more information, is there any way we can find that online?
I believe it's www.battygoldcup.co.uk.
Fantastic. Right then, ladies and gents, so that brings us to the end of today's show, as my lovely dog Atherton has just toddled in. I apologise for that in the background. Bless his little cotton socks. I do hope you, Victoria.
Is your dog called Atherton?
Of course he is.
That's amazing.
He's square.
My guinea pigs are called Milan and Mandarin. So I've got Millie and Mandy, and he has a picture of them on his desk, or he did have. Obviously now he's probably taken it with him in his wallet. But
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I've got Milan and Mandarin, so that is amazing.
Well, there's the hashtag for this week. Hashtag Wednesday pet names, and let us know yours.
I've got my one of my best friends, Tom. His dog is called Roland, after Roland Nielsen.
Oh, I love Roland Nielsen.
I'd love to have a Siggy out there. So yes, please do let us know and send pictures. Oh, I do love a pet pig. And of course, Eddie, if people want to find out more of your internet nonsense, old boy, where can we get hold of you?
So, number one on Twitter, @SausageArms, as always. And breaking news, the Wednesday Out Lounge at Niagara is coming back this season after an absence of kind of half a season.
Fantastic.
But it's going to be back. So, Bristol City, you don't want to go there, mainly because there's a wedding and you'll be wedding crashing. So, unless you are Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, I would suggest not. But after that, it's going to be there every home game of the season. I'm going to be there. There are also going to be other celebrity Wednesday fans,
I'll be there.
like Victoria, like Nigel Shaw. There's going to be a good gang of us. We're trying to get a bit of a party atmosphere going before the game. So come on down. But in the meantime, until then, we are. What are we now? 4 weeks from the start of the season. Is that right?
Less than that,
yeah.
Less than that. 3 weeks.
3 weeks till the start of the season. Exciting time. So, yes, @SausageArms, my build-up to the season continues, and hopefully in the next 7 days, I will have some great conversations that I can relay in the form of good anecdotes for next week's show.
James, oh boy, where can people find you? You've had some rather interesting tweets this week. You've been hanging about with the stars, haven't you, old boy?
Oh, right, yeah, this is the day job. Today I've been hanging about with Chloe, the winner of this year's Big Brother, who is my new best mate. She's from Doncaster. She's a good lass. She's good. So yeah, if anyone wants to get me on Twitter, I am @JamesMarriott, or alternatively, you can normally find me propping up the bar in the Les car on Charleville Road.
Okay, and Victoria, my darling, where can people find you online?
If people really, really want to find me after tonight, I am @Victoria1867 on Twitter and on Facebook.
It's been a pleasure to have you.
It truly has. I'm sure chaps
you.
will agree. I have thoroughly enjoyed the break of the Sausage Fest. Quite simply, it's something I've been trying to make happen for quite some time. Having a lady on the show.
I'm happy to come back at any point.
Whoa, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I was trying to be polite.
If you're absolutely desperate, if Fudge lets you down again, please let me know and I will get
Fudge lets us down every week. You're a keeper.
Happy days.
And of course, you can get hold of myself over there at Twitter @LordH. That's L0RD_H. Of course, please do get in touch with the podcast itself. Last week, we had some wonderful news. We were actually on the iTunes chart for the first time ever. So please do. At one point, we were beating 5 Live. We were also beating a few other highly rated podcasts on there. So I must admit, it was a bit of a shock. Quite honestly, my hat fell off when I saw that. So please do subscribe over there on iTunes. Again, subscribe to us over there on YouTube. You can see the numbers yourself over there. And of course, we are on Mixcloud now as well. Recommended by our old chum Beastie, who's also over on Mixcloud with his new Beastie Rock shows, etc., etc. So check him out over there too. We do want to hear your views on what's happening. We've got a few plans on how to get fans onto the show, but in the meantime, do contact us Facebook, of course, and you can always do it the old-fashioned way and send us a good old email as well. My word, how old do I sound, making email sound old-fashioned? That's twwpodcast@gmail.com. Please do get in touch. Right, so be good, be safe, and hopefully we shall see you very, very soon.